Thank you for joining us on another episode of Bridge of Testimonies. I'm Jake,
I'm Aubrey,
and we are.
the Pritchett's.
Today, we're going to be talking about something that has been pretty prevalent in our lives, and I think around the world as we're starting to see the news and we're starting to see how people are interacting with each other. It's becoming a lot more out there. Spiritual warfare is the subject of today's video. So we're going to give you a little bit of our testimony. We're going to talk about some things that we've been experiencing. But I think a big note of that is being a parent and, of course, being a spouse as well.
Being a parent, being a spouse, and then while you're doing all of that, being a good, leader, being a good volunteer, serving, and then everything that you and I are doing right now as well. That's a lot.
It is. It is a lot. And I think that the more you kind of stretch yourself out and you will kind of be thin on the things that you are going through
Yeah, it's
and
kind
you're
of like I was
doing.
saying this morning. It's the more you're stretched, the thinner you get stretched, the easier it is to forget to close the window
Yeah.
so that evil itself can't come in and sneak in.
Yeah, I feel like that whenever I get tired, I feel like I'm at my weakest. And
Yeah.
so if I'm like I'm overcooked, I'm burnt. And then at that point,
Sizzling.
that's whenever I start to experience a lot more attacks. And for any of you that are out there that maybe don't know what spiritual warfare is, I want to just dive right into scripture on this because I think that Ephesians puts it really well. Specifically Ephesians 6:12. So, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this of this darkness, against evil spiritual forces in the heavens. And I think that this is so important. I think for me, this is one of my favorite verses in the Bible.
Do you want to reiterate it in terms of people who probably have never read the Bible before?
Yeah, I would say that if you see all of this evil that's out there, or what we would consider evil, if you see all of the news and you're saying, how could this be happening? Uh, Paul puts it really well that the fight isn't against other individuals, other humans. It's actually against spiritual forces, the good versus the bad, the light versus the dark, angels versus demons, God versus
Well,
Satan.
personally,
Yeah.
too.
Oh, for personally, I would say these are attacks that are on things that you deal with every day in your life. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like well, we can clear as day see what's happening in the world,
Yeah.
but there's spiritual warfare within ourselves as well.
Oh, for me, anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
those types of things, I would say are absolutely spiritual warfare because you always have that little voice in the back of your head that's telling you about about how bad you are and about how your past is and about
Oh yeah.
how you're not good enough, or maybe that you're, as we talked about yesterday, no such thing as a great Christian, but in
Mm-hmm.
this case, how you're never going to live up to God's standards. And I think that those are some things that everyone really deals with. The more that we start to collect these testimonies, we're starting to find that a lot of people are following the same path.
Right, right. Yeah.
So I want to know if you can give me a little bit about what it looks like, spiritual warfare looks like as a parent.
Well, first I gotta say the good news because
Oh
we
yeah, the
can't we
good
can't
news.
forget about the good news of the day.
The
And
good
with the
news.
war going on, everybody could use some good news. But this good news is actually really more focused locally. Jake and I had the privilege and the well, yeah, Jake and I had the privilege of attending and helping and volunteering with student conference this weekend, and we had over 800. We had 880 registered students attend this camp. That's middle school through high
Middle school through high
school.
school, yeah.
That's sixth grade through 12th grade students. That's amazing. That's almost 1,000 kids.
Yeah, that is
And that's
absolutely
just in one
incredible.
tiny little area. That's not even like the full DFW area.
Yeah, and it wasn't at max capacity because we had a lot of people that were sick and that were traveling and or had school functions and things like that. So just how amazing is that we get to experience and be a part of that. And it was 880 students, but think about all the leaders and all the
All the leaders,
volunteers that
all
were
the
there.
volunteers.
Oh my
Shout
goodness.
out to the volunteers who worked hard to make sure we ate. Shout out to the volunteers who worked hard to make sure we had medical assistance when needed. shout out to the people who watched our kids while we were able to serve. That is a hard job. We appreciate all of you volunteers. So yeah, it was, and it's just, there's something about when you have over 800 people in one room worshiping at the exact same time.
Mm,
It's like a booming, just like, it's hard to explain. It's
yeah.
hard to explain to somebody who's never witnessed or experienced it before,
Yeah.
but it's just overwhelming. It's
A-
in a good way.
Absolutely. The amount of emotion, the amount of vulnerability that is not usually displayed out in public
Yeah.
or on social media, and people are there just in the moment, experiencing the worship, coming together, praying over each
It
other.
gives you goosebumps.
For me, it gives me hope.
Yes,
It gives
yes.
me so much hope because early on in my faith, I think for me specifically, I fed off of that. I
Mhm.
fed off of that hope and that positivity of going on Wednesday nights and volunteering and being a small group leader, but then getting to see this next generation and just how on fire they are. And getting to see these leaders that are coming together and devoting their own time, people that have families, people that have
Yeah.
jobs that are 24/7, they're on call. Those are the types of people that are just, one, you're all amazing if you're ever watching this, but two, it's just incredible to see the kingdom of God still growing in what seems to be a darkening world.
Well, and if you're watching and you don't know God, or you aren't Christian, or you've never been inside a church or anything like this, I guess the best way to explain it is you're seeing these kids who are 11 to 17, 18 years old loving on each other and being there for each other in their weakest moments.
Mm,
That is so beautiful to see, because it does give you hope for the next generation, that we can be here for each other, that we can help each other, no matter what anybody's going through. It's so amazing to see the next generation coming up, not just in God's name, but just for each other. It's beautiful. It makes me cry.
mm. I think you put it really well, and I love the way that you spoke about it to people that may not have ever experienced it. Maybe they grew up in a small town, or maybe they just haven't been a part of a church or anything like that, or maybe the church they had, their conferences weren't. I mean, they just didn't have Matt Rife and Allie and Ashley putting it together. So
Yeah. Yep.
I will say that it is something that really was kind of a counter to what I was believing was going on. Even as a Christ follower, I
Mhm.
thought that numbers were dwindling, that there was barely anyone out there that was actually pursuing this. And then you show up and you have 880 people in
It's a
a
good
room.
reminder.
Oh my goodness,
It's
it
a good
is.
reminder, especially when, with our topic,
Mhm.
spiritual warfare, we go through that all the time, especially, when you devote your life to Christ, it gets harder and harder and harder every single day, the closer you get to God. And I think that that's a good, like, break. And it's a good reminder, like, this is possible. There is hope.
Mhm.
We need to keep going. We need to be louder. We need to, we just don't give up.
Yeah. I think that's the big piece, is not giving up and not being alone.
Yeah.
The big part of this podcast is community and
Mhm.
building the biggest community group ever, but really hearing people's testimonies. And whenever you're in those environments and you surround yourself with people like that, not only are you getting built up and you're getting your cup refilled, but you're also able to see other people doing the same. And it's just a nice reminder with all the negativity out in the world. But of course, thank you to everyone that was a part of that. If it's ever something that you are interested in and your hometown doesn't have it, maybe your churches don't have it, well, you could be the change in the world. You could be someone that
Yeah.
puts that together. But back to my question earlier,
Mhm.
what does spiritual warfare look like for you as a parent?
As a parent,
Mm-hmm.
man, that's a hard one, because I'm still learning
Mm-hmm.
as I go. I remember, as soon as I had Grace, I had my postpartum depression, and then it led into anger. And I remember just getting angry all the time with her about everything. And it was very easy for me to get angry with her, and it was very easy for me to just completely give up and just go do something different, or feel like I wasn't doing something right. Or, I mean, I remember I remember during postpartum depression, Grace, there was one day Grace just would not stop crying.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was maybe 3 months old.
Yeah.
And I remember coming to you, because I remember you picked her up and she stopped crying.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing hurts worse. What, as moms, we want our kids to love their dads. But nothing hurts worse than when the person who carried that kid for 9 months, built it, sacrificed their body, just doesn't respond to you the way you thought that they would. And when it always looks like they're responding better to the significant other, no matter how hard we try, it hurts. And I just remember breaking down, and shout out to my brother. I don't think he remembers this, but he did come out there and comfort me. I went into the patio and I just bawled my eyes out, and he did come out there. He comforted me, he listened to me. And I that will always be a hardcore memory inside my brain. But I felt defeated. I was a new mom, and then that continued. That didn't stop. And it wasn't up until this year, really mid last year, where I started to realize that this isn't me. This isn't who I am. This isn't God. This is Satan and all his evil trying to make me feel like I just don't have it. Like I could never be a good parent. Like I could never get out of postpartum depression. Like I could never be happy. I'm always going to be angry, and nothing is going to change that. And once I started thinking that way, I've noticed how it's been a little easier for me. It's not now. It wasn't an automatic switch and change. I have to work at it every day, because every day I'm fighting my own flesh. I'm fighting what Satan wants me to believe. And the closer I get to God, the harder he pushes. So it's not easy, and it never will be, but it's become easier as the days go on. I found myself uh trying to become more patient, and it's not a matter of, oh, I'm becoming more patient. No, I want to become more patient. I'm noticing I'm wanting to be a better mom, as in not just yelling at my kid all the time. I'm wanting to try new different changes, and I want to have an open mind about how to parent, and not just think my way is the only way, because I want to learn and I want to be better for her. And because I'm wanting those things, and I know that's good, and I know that God has a better plan for me as a parent, as a mom, and he knows that I can do it, or else he would have never, like, kids would never be in the picture. um I'm able to stop, think, pray, surrender. It's hard, but at some point it gets easier, and I am able to surrender. And it's different. I'm not the same parent I was 6 months ago. And I'm using that, and I'm using that with my second daughter, with Haven. I'm saying, okay, Haven is 9 months old. I'm gonna be better. She's crying for a reason. I give myself grace too. That's the other thing. I didn't give myself grace whenever I was being a new parent with Grace when she was younger, because I didn't think I deserved it. I thought I was being a terrible mom because I was yelling and losing my anger. But now, when I'm tired, or when I'm not understanding what Haven wants, I'm sitting here thinking, that's normal and it's okay. And I think all moms need to hear this. It's okay to lose your anger. It's okay that you're dealing with postpartum depression. I mean, bodies change, chemistries are changing, hormones are changing, everything. We were built for this, yes, but it's still hard, and it's still okay to admit that it's hard. And I think with spiritual warfare, Satan loves to make us believe that it's not okay,
Mhm.
and that we're terrible people for even thinking about the things that we think. And that's not true.
Mhm.
That's not God. So that's my testimony as a parent.
Mhm.
And I even still had postpartum depression with Haven too. In fact, it was worse. I was on the spectrum of needing medication. Thankfully, I we made changes in our life that helped me kind of spring out of it a little bit. But even then, that was still a battle. It was a little easier to give myself a little grace, but it didn't make the postpartum depression levels any lower. It was just I was able to give grace, and I was able to survive through it.
You have been just an incredible mom. And I will
Thank you.
say that it was encouraging to me because I'd never been around kids to be able to see you in your element. And it's something I think that God, throughout anything that's happened in your life, has prepped you for and made you into the mom that Grace and Haven are going to need, especially in a darker world. And for me, it was always just so encouraging because I had no idea what I was doing and I had never been around kids before. And just to see you, and you were just, dee 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 dee, and you were going along, and yeah, you had some really hard times, and I will never discount that. You had some incredible valleys that you had to go through. But the really cool thing is that bubbly Aubrey was able to get through all of that, to still be a light to those around her, to give so much of yourself, not only to the kids, but to me and to the community, the rest of the family, the extended family, and things like that. And you're always painting, and you're always singing, and you're always doing these great things, even whenever you're at those lowest moments. And I think
Yeah.
that's just so encouraging because
Thanks, babe.
I think it's a testament to a lot of moms out there that yes, you are not alone in that. You are loved and you are supported, and I hope that your testimony can be just like a hey, it's okay, you're not alone. Because at the end of the day, with that spiritual warfare, the enemy likes to tell us that hey, you're alone in this.
Hmm.
You are the worst of the worst, and you're not. You.
Well, on that, and
Mhm.
I know I interrupted, I'm sorry, but I think it's important to note that I didn't do that alone.
Mhm.
Like, of course, I had God, but that's not what I'm referring to. With Grace, I did it alone.
Mhm.
I didn't let anybody know what was going on.
Yeah.
I didn't have a community that helped me see a different angle. But with Haven, I allowed myself a community. I talked to you about it more than I did when I had Grace, but I didn't just talk to you about it. I talked with my friends about it.
Yeah.
And I also went and got help.
Uh-huh.
I made sure I was very honest with my OB.
Mhm.
I made sure that I was very honest with even my parents.
Mhm.
I made sure I went and got help from several people in the area, and not for an attention thing, but because I truly wanted to be better. I wanted to remember that it wasn't me. I mean, that it wasn't Satan,
Mhm.
that this wasn't who I am, that this wasn't God.
Mhm.
And so I think a community is so important in that aspect, because there are so many moms who can feel like that they're going at it alone, and you're not. You're not going through it alone. Believe it or not, we're all going through the exact same thing, and we may not talk about it out loud, but we should.
Yeah.
We should be talking about it out loud. This is not who we are,
Mhm.
and that's okay.
Mhm.
So I just that's an important topic. But I want to know, from your perspective as a dad, as a father, what kind of spiritual warfare you've gone through.
First, I just want to say that you probably have a lot of moms out there that are listening to this, like ready to run through a brick wall. And so, good job to you.
Thank you.
As a dad, I think that we go through a different fight because it's something that you're like, okay, I'm ready to have kids and let's go through this together. And then you end up being on the sideline and you end up feeling bad because I have to watch you go through all of the uncomfortable times, and I have to watch you go through all of the pain that you went through, and the depression and the traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, because of my inexperience straight out of the gate, it was something that I was like, okay, well, I'm leaning on you for a lot of the decision making and a lot of the hey, how do I change a diaper at 3 a.m. the first night that we had Grace, and I'm watching YouTube videos, and you're in bed with a C-section, and I'm over there, and I'm like, I don't know where I am at that point. And for all the men out there that have to sleep on that hospital bed, you're a trooper. Um,
He wouldn't sleep on that bed. He
or
slept in the
the
recliner.
couch, yeah. The first
Oh,
time
the couch. The first time he slept in the recliner.
I did my first tour on that couch, and then the second time I slept in that recliner because I would have rather taken the recliner any day. But whenever you come home and you bring the beautiful baby in, and as a father, I think that it's like, wow, this is incredible. This is everything that I wanted. But then again, I'm not the one that's going to be feeding in the middle of the night. I'm not the one that's going to be having to, you know, do 24/7 babysitting while because I'm off at work.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another issue, is that it's the guilt. It's like, no matter how tired I am at the end of the day, I know, because I love to serve you,
Right.
that I want to come home and make sure that you have everything under the sun to feel comfortable and to have a little bit of relief, even if my tank is empty,
Which is so funny because I feel that exact same way, but in a different route.
Mhm.
Like, and I think that this will probably fall a little bit into the marriage
Yeah, yeah.
spiritual warfare. Like, I want to make sure that because you work so hard for our family, for so that I can stay at home, that you don't have to deal with all of that. So sometimes I know that we're literally fighting the same battle for each other, which is great
Mhm.
because it could be completely different position for both of us.
Absolutely. And I think with the parenting side, the spiritual warfare intertwines directly with your marriage, because you're not only are you taking care of these kids, and you're being attacked with your own insecurities of how I'm parenting, and am I doing good enough for the other person, or maybe, are they going to agree with the decision that I make on how we're going to dress our kid that day?
Yeah.
Where I'm putting them in lime green and orange, and you're like, no, she needs to be a princess. And so I think that I
Her
think
socks need to match her shorts.
or the socks need to match.
Or just the socks need to match, no, which is ironic because my socks never match.
No, they do not. That's one thing that I love about you. And so I will say that it directly intertwines with marriage, because at the end of the day, your tank's empty.
Mhm,
You've given it all to your kids,
mhm.
and then you have to find out also how to be a husband or wife.
What did you battle internally, specifically just with Grace? Let's just focus on the oldest because we haven't had enough time on the world with Haven. Um, as a dad, what did you experience and have to battle through? Because I know what I know what I had to battle as my own individual parent, and everybody parents differently.
Mhm.
So what was something that you had to defeat and accomplish that you couldn't do without God?
I don't think it's something that I've accomplished or defeated. It's something that I still battle with every day, and I think a lot of men do. And our ooga booga brains, like our monkey brains, are sitting here, and we're like, okay, we're hunter gatherers, and
Yeah.
so it's the providing piece. Am I going to be able to provide a roof? Am I going to be able to put food on the table and make sure that we have enough diapers?
Mm-hmm.
And am I going to be able to afford sports? And
Yeah.
am I going to be able to afford
School.
school and daycare and all of these experiences, while I see other people that they're able to give their kids the world? It's like, am I doing enough?
That's so crazy how different we think as parents, our thought processes as parents, different parents are,
Mm-hmm.
like on each side.
How does yours differ?
Well, because I'm more like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but I'm more like, what am I doing right for the benefit of her, like when she gets in trouble
Yeah.
or when she won't listen or when she throws tantrums? And you're more in the provider state.
Yeah.
Like I'm more the detail oriented, and I'm not saying either is
Oh,
right or wrong. It's just that's how we differ. Like I'm more detail oriented. Like, am I going to lose my control when I see her throw herself on the ground for the fifth time today over the fact that she didn't get to wear a princess dress?
yeah.
Or am I going to be like Nehemiah, where I stop, I pray, and I surrender? And that's the other thing. I didn't understand the surrendering part
Mm-hmm.
until literally like 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't actually start praying to surrender,
Mm-hmm.
like praying to surrender my emotions that my invalid, I wouldn't say invalid emotions. I'd say surrender the thing that I know it's not God,
Mm.
like giving it to Him. I didn't start doing that in prayer until 3 months ago.
Right. I think I think mine goes a little bit into the same category, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. So the first, of course, is providing, making sure that there is a house for you to make a home.
Mm-hmm.
But the second piece of that is, am I being a good enough dad? Am I here enough?
Yeah.
Am I, whenever she asks me to go play, am I getting up and going to play? Or did I yell at her too much? Or did, whenever she got in trouble, did I lose my temper too fast? Like,
Yeah.
I find myself a lot at the end of the day being like, I'm not a good enough dad, because I didn't do X,
Which
Y,
is
Z today.
crazy because you're the most amazing dad
Well, thank you.
ever. It's insane. I remember us always talking about how we didn't want kids.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I wanted kids and you didn't want kids. And then it got to a point where we both wanted kids. And I always told you, even whenever we weren't planning on having kids, I always told you I thought you would have been an amazing dad. But you've exceeded my expectations immensely. And that's insane to me because I didn't even know that you could do that. I had high expectations.
Well, thank you for that. I think that it's so important. I think because each individual has spiritual warfare going on, and the enemy's dragging them down and taking every little experience that they've had throughout the day and just nitpicking and trying to basically destroy your foundation.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. That's why I compliment people a lot, and I try to make people know what they're doing right and that they're doing good, because it just doesn't go around a lot. But
Well, not only that, but it's so easy for Satan himself to make them think they're not doing good.
yeah, and that they're on their own island, and that none of us have the same experience. So if you bring something to the light and you try to bring it to people, that they're going to make fun of you or they're going to judge you. And
Yeah.
in some cases, that will happen. And that's what we talked about yesterday with some of the things that are wrong with the church and with a lot of Christians out there. But
so it's understandable.
Yeah, I will say a lot of this does bleed into marriage, because I think at the end of the day, one of the big things that I had to learn, and what has helped, in my opinion, is that, of course, it's God first, and then it's you.
Yeah.
Because if you and I aren't if you and I aren't in sync, then our ability to take care of the kids is.
It's so funny you say that, because I was actually that bleeds into what I was going to say, is it helps to know each other's strengths and weaknesses as individuals in our marriage in order for us to help each other be better parents. So for example, I know you don't do well on lack of sleep. Why would I ever ask you to wake up in the middle of the night to feed the girls when I know that I run better off little sleep than you do? I need you to be at your best during the day whenever you're home and we're both fighting the girls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're not there, that doesn't help me, and that can easily lead me to be frustrated with you because you're not able to be 100% there. And it didn't, to avoid any of that, it's important that I thought it was so important that you and I had talked about this even before we had kids, or when we found out I was pregnant, that we talked about, okay, hey, this is our strength, this is our weakness, let's try and figure this out. You know what I mean? Some people, they do good on with little sleep. So there are husbands out there who are able to wake up in the middle of the night and feed their kid, and that's okay too. But I knew you wouldn't, and so that helped. Also knowing that you don't do well with the throwing up and stuff like that. Why would I ever ask you to help with that? If you don't do well with that?
Yeah.
You're not going to be much help of that. You're not going to be much help in that situation, and it's just going to frustrate me. So I feel like that's so important to really get to know each other and take each other's strengths and weaknesses into consideration and work together and actually use that. And that can help lead into parenting and make sure that the parenting, that we're on the same level. We're on this, or not level, we're in the same sync.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. I think that there are certain things that I try to go out of my way to help you with. And bedtime routine has always been a big one for me.
Yeah.
And since we've had Haven, that's changed a little bit. But back whenever it was just Grace, it was making sure that you had, 30 to 45 minutes. I was giving her a bath, putting her to bed, and so that you had your quiet time.
Let me tell you how amazing of a dad this guy is. Grace is 3.5. For 3.5 years, every single night, no matter how long of a day this guy has had, he always gives Grace her bath, gets her dressed, puts her to bed, and he doesn't just go that far. He even reads her books, makes sure she has other books to read while she's in bed. And that's just insane to me. There are maybe 2-3 times out of that 3.5 years that I did that. And that was either because you weren't home or you were being asked to do something else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how great of a husband he is. Find you a husband that'll do that.
Well,
I've been walking through the shadows of my own mistakes, trying hard to find the peace that only you can make. But when I call your name, the darkness starts to fade.